So again, you're listening to the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show. You know, I've got my guests on with us today, and they kind of cringed when I talking about our next article. And the next article I want to talk about is something that came out this week. I saw it in the Business Journal. I saw it through several media outlets this week. HUD wants to require affordable housing in wealthy neighborhoods. And, you know, my thoughts, and I'll get you guys' thoughts on it too, are that HUD requiring anything like that is just bad for business and bad for the market. They need to let the market happen. If there's going to be affordable housing, let the free capital system, let the market system determine where it's going to be. But to force it into certain neighborhoods, I just think is a bad move, not just from a standpoint of, you know, the belief that it's the right thing to do, but also the impact, the negative impact it could have on some of those real estate markets.
Values. I mean, value being number one. Look what that does for you know, an affluent neighborhood. I mean, it could just drag down appraisals across the board. You can have people leaving the neighborhood. I mean, who knows what the repercussions could be?
Right. It could certainly have a negative impact, and I think it's fantasy land to think that putting an affordable housing neighborhood would also prompt everyone to just get along great. You know, there are going to be people that are going to resent that. And requiring it. Again, if it happens from the market system, they file permits, it just happens, then and they went through the proper channels, but the government getting in the business of requiring things of real estate and home ownership is just, I just think a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I think there's a ripple down effect to that too, because like Aaron said, it's going to affect the values, but also it's going to affect the infrastructures all around there. It's going to be school issues, there's going to be economic issues in the stores and in the malls and so forth there, and as well as potentially crime and traffic problems too.
And I think, again, you know, I'm a proponent of, you know, less government involvement, less government spend. I think it's why you'll hear us a lot on 970 WFLA. It's kind of obviously an angle of the demographic, but certainly when they're requiring it, I get that. You know, that there's a hope to you know, that can someday happen, that there can be this high-end, super wealthy neighborhood, and right next to it there can be affordable housing. I get the desire that someday we could believe that could happen, but to force it is a whole other conversation. To force feed a requirement of affordable housing into wealthy neighborhoods is just a recipe for trouble. It's just America just isn't prepared for that yet. Number one, and number two, considering how great the real estate market is doing. Everyone's talking about how great it's doing. Homes are selling, despite what the Tampa Bay Times article talked about with thousands that don't sell that we don't always hear about. But the market's going great. Don't mess with it. Get out of the way. Like, let it keep doing great. Like, don't touch it. Like, it's kind of like, you know, as a business owner, if you got something that's going well, I'm not going to jump in and change it. You know, as a sports guy, if the triplets line is doing well, keep them together. You don't change it. You know, if you got a pitcher and he's throwing strikes, leave him in. Like, but there's just this desire to go in and mess it up, and it just doesn't make sense.
It's almost an oxymoron, because you put affordable housing close to a high-end neighborhood. That's going to affect the values of the affordable housing to go up to where it's not affordable anymore, and then
bingo, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it's not.
Yeah.
It is literally like the only people I can see that benefiting from that are the people that likely own the apartments that are renting to the people in the affordable. And so it's not really benefiting. I get the goal would be to help the person that's living in the affordable housing, but in reality, it's not going to help them. It's going to hurt them, because they're going to get forced out.
The market,
the guy that owns the apartment building is going to say, "Oh well, man, now that we've been here a few years, it's time to take our profits and make millions," you know, and then they're going to be right back into a different neighborhood again. It's a recipe for failure. It really is.
Yeah.
And I can't understand why there's even a thought process to logically think. And I'll tell you why. It's because most of the people making business decisions aren't business people, and that's the problem. You know, and hopefully that will change in our next election. But nonetheless, you know, you do that, and it's just it's going to fail. It is going to cause more problems than it's even close to being worth for the economy. So